So we have two episodes of One Piece. The first one is The Man in the Straw Hat, which is basically Buggy's episode. I like this episode. I liked the twist with Buggy having also eaten his own devil's fruit. We learn more about devil's fruit and how, what is the quote from it? The ocean will turn your back on you and the sea will take away your strength, which was the line said during one of the flashback scenes at the beginning of the episode. And then later on, we learn how the seawater Buggy used to make Luffy not as stretchy as he once was. What did you think about, what do you think is going on with Shanks? Because Shanks loses an arm in this episode.
I don't think. I mean, as far as like, do you think? I mean, Shanks. It seems they were. Clearly he's very protective of Luffy, and they were going to clearly go off on the grand adventure to look for the One Piece, but. As far as anything, I don't know if there's anything nefarious about him, but I think he's definitely like there's definitely some more backstory there as far as why he is so protective of Luffy beyond just this kid who was just hanging around there at the bar.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I was talking more about the fact that when he saved Luffy, he did something.
Yeah.
And then, but his price was he lost an arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it's not a devil's fruit.
Well, I mean, he could. Well, I mean, now he may have gotten the devil's fruit. He may have eaten the devil's fruit because I mean, clearly he has some type of abilities because he was able to get the creature to stand down.
Right.
But
But that consequence happened very abruptly.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe that's just the devil's fruit has different ways of manifesting itself. So like and I mean, Luffy, he definitely has, he has a stretchy ability. How far that could go, we could,
that's what I'm getting at. We haven't seen a consequence for either Buggy or Luffy in using their powers, because in this episode the twist was Buggy ate a devil's fruit and so he's chop and then he gets cut down to size. I like that line.
I like I like that too. With Shanks, I don't know. Or maybe he had maybe it was something other than devil's fruit. I don't know.
It also is interesting how Buggy, we learn, knew Shanks.
Mm.
And they go way, 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 way back. And I got an impression, okay? Again, I know nothing about this.
Same here.
Nothing about the story. Nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to learn anything. I just want to watch the series and take it in for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I got the impression based on Buggy's little I know him. I know the other pirate with the straw hat.
Yeah.
That it predates him even eating the chop fruit.
Yeah.
And so my mind thought, well, maybe because Buggy also, I don't know. It's like maybe they ate a pear of fruit, because it's interesting how Buggy, you can slice and dice him any way and he's just in pieces, but he can pull himself back together. While whatever it is that Shanks was able to do to get that creature to turn away, his consequences, he physically loses an arm. And who knows what else he has lost. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's not a devil's fruit, and maybe he just literally made a pact with the devil.
Or maybe it's like I said, not like you. We're both going into this completely cold, so we have not watched a single minute of the 15 hours of the anime, not read any of the volumes of the books. So the manga. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but but you are onto something, that there is that clearly is, as referenced in the episode, they have a history. Shanks and Buggy have a history, and what that history is, I would think, given that Buggy was visited later by Arlong,
Yeah.
that in the third episode, all all these pirates have some common story where they've interacted with one another and double cross one another and other things like that. So maybe as we progress in the series, especially given that we got word today that the series has been renewed for a second season on Netflix. Got confirmation of that. We'll get more into some of the backstory with all these assorted characters.
Yeah. Now, with Arlong, I wasn't under the impression that I felt like Buggy knew who he was,
Mm-hmm.
but has never actually met him.
No, I got
Like
that
it was
impression.
more of a pirate, like I know the names of these guys and where they stand in the hierarchy and everything, the food chain, as Arlong would say. But I liked that. I mean, to your point, that we're getting introduced to a lot of different pirates, and there's connections between the pirates themselves, between some of like Zoro and Nami, and even Luffy made a connection about a pirate who used to be on Shank's crew. So
Yep.
so it's like this is a lived-in world is
Yeah.
what I'm getting at. And so
Yeah.
they're doing a very good job about that. Yeah, and I just hope that not every pirate out there has eaten a devil's fruit. Because that might get a little bit old. I don't know. But I get that right now it's a new universe. You're trying to expand it, and you wanna show, you want to have obstacles. So it's a clever MacGuffin, if you will,
Yeah.
to create those obstacles for our characters. Oh, also something with these two episodes that I wanted to ask you about was
Yeah.
your thoughts on the growing dynamic
Mm-hmm.
between Admiral Garp and Kobe.
Yeah, that was something that definitely, those were the two episodes, but really stood out to me. Where, especially given Kobe's, I guess in episode 2, he, they're all starting to run together now. Did he like identify the Luffy and everyone in the second episode, or was it the third episode?
What do you mean identify Luffy?
As far as like, um, saying he knows the pirates
Oh, okay.
who were
Yeah.
that with the axe hand got away from him.
Yeah, so in the second episode, Garp comes to Shellstown
Yeah.
and immediately realizes that Kobe knows more
Yeah.
than he's letting on. And then also in the third episode, he's decided to take the crew because and like shank Axe Hand and be like, nope, you're no longer in charge of this. And so he took his Marines, and they're now on their way to find Luffy and the crew.
Yeah.
And during that, Kobe shows how he's a new Marine cadet, but he knows his shit because he was taught by pirates.
Right.
And then they get to play Go. And so it's just, the more I think about this relationship that we're seeing, there's a parallel that's between Garp and Kobe, and in present day, and how we are seeing Shanks kind of modeled what it was to be a good pirate to Luffy.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely parallels there
Yeah.
in the relationships and all, and also, yeah, and it goes back to Luffy and Cody's initial conversation about good pirate, bad pirate, and it's the same thing, good marine, bad marine. And yeah, so they're again, as part of the world building that they're doing here, there's definitely setting up these dynamics between these characters and these parallels between the characters.
Well, it makes the world more gray, because you want to say, okay, well, this is a show, our main character is a pirate, so the Marines are the bad guys. And then
Yeah,
they introduce Kobe, and Kobe's like, I want to be a Marine. I don't want to be. And then we're immediately shown why, like, the bad Marines, but Kobe wants to be the good Marine. And so I think he's seen in Garp,
yeah.
like, oh, okay, this is at the moment, trust me, I am suspicious of Garp.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, he's not done anything to, he clearly knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it just makes it a lot more gray, because now it's not as black and white of saying, okay, if you're a Marine, you're automatically bad. If you're a pirate, you're automatically good,
Yeah.
because we're seeing a mix of all of them.
We are.
We still have yet to figure out what Nami is.
Yeah. She. Yeah, especially when we see the end of episode 2, where she, like, whenever they are on their little ship and she calls someone who we don't know yet, but she, we know she's a navigator.
Well,
and
we know she hates pirates.
we know she hates pirates.
One thing that does frustrate me
Yeah.
is Luffy has never really questioned Nami about why she was at Shellstone Town wanting to get to that map.
Right.
Like, Nami's been, it didn't caught me. I thought it was a good ending to episode 2. But I like how with Nami's arc, they're stretching. They're like, we're planting some seeds here, and there will be a twist here. But Nami's definitely has her own story.
She does. Yeah, and
or her own arc. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because especially, like, I think about one of the things that stood out for me with Nami in episode 2 was whenever she was able to escape and run out of the clown tent and gets into the town and see all the devastation that Buggy's pirates did. She realized, like, okay, I've got, even though we're a crew, but we're not a crew. I gotta work. I definitely need, work with Luffy and Zoro here, because if we don't work, if we don't stick together here, we're gonna have the same fate that these poor people had, and become, basically the true captive audience that Buffy has Buggy has set up here.
Yeah. Granted, one of the clown henchmen literally went and grabbed her and pulled her back in.
Yeah, but it was more the look on her face that was the realization. It was more. I mean, obviously they called her, but it was really the look that look like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's very similar to in episode 3 when she's talking with what's her face?
Kaya. Yeah.
Kaya, and they have that moment of girl talk in the bedroom. While the boys are getting semi-killed, drinking poison unknowingly, and murders happening, and they're just in there chatting, just chat. But it is a maze. It's a very large building that they're in, castle that they're in.
Yeah.
But we see that, like, even though she's a thief, she's doing what she needs to do to survive.
Yeah.
And that's the best kind of thief, because that means that they're not doing it necessarily maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
But they do see is she does notices when really bad things are going on. Like, she's suspicious of Carlo, not as suspicious as Zorro is, which Zorro is interesting because I like how he's being used more as, at least in these two episodes, we're seeing him as someone who is known and also knows others. Because in the second episode, he's told, like, you killed my brother and all of that, and I want your forgiveness, and I'm gonna kill you. And then in this episode, he figures out what's really going on behind Kaya's back, and that she's actually been living with a whole pirate crew this whole time who are trying to snub her money out from under her. I did like Yusuf.
Yeah.
We get introduced in episode 3. I did like he's someone, again, another character I had to grow with, but I did like at the beginning the young kid running through town. The pirates are coming, and you're just like, oh, okay, so we see Yusuf. Clearly he's always wanted to be a pirate, and you don't get the payoff for that opening sequence until the very end of the episode. And it's in, now, my one criticism is his mom shouldn't have died in that scene. It was so abrupt. That was really bad. But I did immediately, when they cut to the present day, and he's like, no one believes me, and he looks up and sees Kobe. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm liking their use of, so far, how the writers are using an opening sequence, like a cold open, and then tying it somehow to an ending cliffhanger / reveal that makes you want to go on to see how this continues.
Yeah. I know one of the I think I saw where in the renewal notice about the show, some of the writers were from the Marvel Netflix shows. And so, to your point, in particular, they were talking about how, adapting comics and manga, why this show is succeeding where other, like Cowboy Bebop, for example, did not succeed. I think part of it is the people know how to adapt the source material to do the thing that you just said, which is that cold open, great setup at the, it sets things up, and you have that reveal at the end, but then we go to black, and then you're just like, oh god, it's like I gotta fight to, like, it's like I gotta sleep, I can't, like, go to the next episode tonight because they do leave you wanting more and wanting to get that hit the next part of the journey.
Yeah. I definitely.
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say, as far as the 3 episodes that we watched, I will say that the third one, while I did enjoy it, it was a tad predictable that the butler was going to was up to no good. But it didn't. But even that being said, it was still enjoyable, because I think the writing, and like you noted, with Kaya and Nami having those conversations and really, getting to know, through those conversations, for example, we get to know Nami a bit better, and also, and it was just very fun with the dynamic with Usopp and Kaya, and really exploring their relationship, and how everybody was like, well, it was kind of like teenagers like, are y'all a couple or you're not? So, I couldn't help but start thinking like the shipping
Right.
dynamic that people may or may not have, what they may or may not have there. So, so those were the fun elements of the third episode that I thought, even though story beat wise, it was pretty obvious, but there's enough other things going on with the world building and exploring these characters that really made the episode work.
Yeah, I actually was gonna say that same thing, is that the third episode was the weakest so far, but that's also because um the villain, like
Mm-hmm.
Buggy was such a cool
Yeah,
villain,
yeah,
and we know we're gonna see more of him, that we went from like an overarching bad guy to bad guy of the week.
yeah.
Granted, the one bit I did hear is that 4 and 5, or third and fourth episode, a lot of fans have this reaction, but wait until episode 5.
Okay.
Something big coming. And I like how it makes me feel, as much as like now my expectations have altered, but knowing that, but then again, like, okay, we're all on the same page. That wasn't the best, but it moved things forward enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And we need a ship, okay? We need to get the ship to get
Mm-hmm.
going to where we need to be.
Yep.
Granted, now we got Kobe on the island, and it's a bit too soon, so we'll see how the maneuvering works, because we know that they're going to get away, but we don't know how, and what else will happen in light of that, because Arlong is now teaming up with Buggy,
Yeah,
so that's something we got going on. It's gonna quickly come to a head as well. But yeah,
yeah.
and you're so right. Like the cold opens, I was thinking about it the other day. Remind me so much of the Arrowverse, and a lot
Mm,
of the episodes where you would have a cold open that would either bring your attention to a brand new character who you're going to get to know for the episode, or bring your attention to like the villain of the week, or
yeah,
some kind of hint as to what this overall episode will be about. And they're doing it in a very good way,
yeah,
um, so far.
yeah.
I like it.
I like it too.
All right. Well, on that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Will M Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter, now known as X, whatever, at Scene and Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and Threads at Scene_N_Nerd. And visit our website, www.sceneandnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.